How many participants are attending this meeting?
So this meeting, only the 5 of us are there, but we are using this event platform called Floor. Unfortunately, it wasn't working from your office, which is why we had to do the Zoom. So what we're doing is we're streaming this on that floor. On the floor, last count, there were about 800 participants. I will just check and confirm the number of, current number is about 832 right now.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. I will also send the link of that. Neeta ma'am has it, but I will send that link in the chat. Okay. All right, we are live, so we can get started. Welcome to the Nudge Forum, Agri Charcha. The Nudge Forum is a platform for various stakeholders to come together for accelerating India's development journey. The theme of Agri Charcha is how do we fast track agri innovations that keep the farmer at the center? And the discussions of the whole day today are going to look at the rural households in entirety, from their big needs to policies affecting them, and then delve into how do we build an ecosystem that supports and nurtures agri innovations. To set the tone, our opening keynote speaker will talk about how we can all come together to create a new future for rural households. I invite Mr. Arun Seth to introduce our keynote speaker. Mr. Seth is ex-chairman of British Telecom India and Alcatel-Lucent. He was the founding chairman of NASCOM and is a trustee of NASCOM Foundation. Arun also serves on the board of leading corporates and nonprofits, including Narayan Hridayalaya, Jubilant Foodworks, Helpage India, and also the Nudge Foundation. Arun, please take it forward.
Thank you very much, Priya. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to welcome you to this day-long virtual session on enhancing rural livelihoods, especially important in time of COVID, which has caused a huge stress to our social systems. This event is brought to you by the Nudge Forum, that's part of Nudge Life Skills Foundation. The Nudge Foundation, in a very short span of 5 years, has led the way for livelihood, starting with urban initially and now deeply focused on its work through the Center for Rural Development, with its initial work in Jharkhand and now moving to other states like UP. We are privileged to have today's session being inaugurated and keynoted by Mr. N.N. Sinha, Secretary Rural Development for the Government of India. A very brief introduction to Mr. Sinha. Mr. Sinha took charge as Secretary of MORD on May 27, 2020. He holds a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from IIT Kanpur. And I'm very happy to say that I also did electrical engineering, but much before him, from IIT Kanpur. He also did his master's in health sciences from Johns Hopkins. He's had served many sensitive assignments in both central government and the state government of Jharkhand. His previous assignments include Secretary Border Management at MHA in Delhi, Chairman of National Highway Authority, and also Additional Chief Secretary, Rural Development, Government of Rural Development. As you can see, he brings a wealth of experience to his current position. As Secretary Rural Development, he is responsible for formulating, coordinating, implementing programs that addresses the development needs of rural areas, focusing especially on mitigating and eradicating the poverty and creating sustainable employment and livelihood opportunities. His programs rely heavily on the use of technology for furthering sustainable development. His major interest is the use of ICT for sustainable development, which I think is absolutely the right kind of person to help us lead into today's session. After this keynote, I'll do a short Q&A, which will help us bring the context on the rural livelihoods. I'm also hoping that this will set the stage for a larger cooperation between government, civil society, and work in partnership to make up for time. At this time, the speed is of the essence. May I request Mr. Sinha to give his keynote address, please?
Good morning, Mr. Seth, Priya, Neeta, and colleagues available on the Nudge Forum groups. It's my privilege to deliver a keynote address on the Agri Charcha Forum. This topic is very topical, so to say. If you would recall the GDP that is contributed by the agriculture sector, it's about 15%. the population that is dependent on the agriculture is over 50%. That is half of the population depends on the agriculture and resides in the rural area for their livelihoods. We should also recall the last migration crisis that the country saw in the months of April and May. A large number of people trooping back to their home states and native places. By any count, the number of people who went back to their native places was not less than 1 crore. So you should think at the plight of those people. Why did they go back? Because the livelihoods were not available. The incomes that they were able to garner in their own areas was not enough to support the number of families that were there. There is a statistics which available in the public domain, which claims that disparity of income between average farmer and average non-agriculture worker is about 2.76 times. That is, average farmer earns 2.76 times less than a non-agriculture worker. So therefore, you see the large queue of people waiting to snap at any public employment, be it of MTS in a public office or a driver or any kind of lowest paid employment. The cultivators' income from agriculture sources are declining. If it was 34%, that is 1/3 in the period between 1980 to 2011, it has declined now to 1/4 of the total income. So that is most of their incomes are now being derived from the non-agriculture sources, non-farm incomes, or labor in programs like Mahatma Gandhi Narega, or things like that, or maybe remittances, etc. So the issue of farming and lack of incomes in the farming area is very real. And how do we handle it? And how do we bring prosperity to the rural areas is a ongoing issue that we'll need to handle at any cost. And there are people who talk of the strategy of weaning farmers and the populations away from the farming. So that could of course be a solution. It has happened in many other parts of the world. But in the context of India, the government has been at it. The entire set of public authorities and private agencies have been at it. It has not met with much success. So we should certainly attempt it, but it cannot be a principal strategy, and we have to probably work on the ways to increasing the farmers' income. In this context, the Prime Minister's call for doubling the farmer income by 2022 is a very timely national goal, and we must strive at it. If I see a study which was brought out with respect to different factors that should contribute to doubling the farmer income. So it covered a period between 2015 to 2022. So it says crop production should be growing at 4.1%, whereas it is now doing 3.1%. Livelihood should grow, the income from livelihood should grow from at the rate of 6%. It's now contributing about 4.1% of the growth. The crop diversification should contribute about 5.2%. It's now contributing 3.9%. Better price realization should contribute about 17% to the incremental income for doubling the farmer's income. It's now contributing 13%. Shift to non-farm occupation should contribute 2.4%. It's now contributing 1.8%. So I'm saying there are factors and there are known factors, and these factors need to be worked at. in order to improve the farmer's share in the income and in order to extract the greater value of the value chains. So I have got some data with regard to the distributive efficiency. What is distributive efficiency? The price that a farmer gets versus a price that a consumer pays. So if you take different commodities, so I have data with regard to milk, it's about 70%. I have data with regard to cereals, it's about 60 to 65%. I have data with regard to food and vegetables, it's about 40 odd percent. NIRD did a study of two markets, Ramnagar, which is in Bangalore, and so residents of Bangalore know it. The distributive efficiency computed for the Ramnagar market was about 34%. That is, the farmer got 1/3 of what was paid by the wholesale customer. So Ramnagar is the wholesale market, and therefore you can compare the distributive efficiency if you take the retail market. Similar was with regard to the Ratnagiri market with respect to mangoes. So there is a wide difference between what a consumer pays and what a farmer gets. And this is the part of the value chain that we need to work at in order to get more value to the farmers. And there is another perspective which I need to bring in, and this perspective comes from the issue of post-harvest losses. And there are different numbers, and there are people who say about 50% of the crops and agriculture production gets wasted due to post-harvest losses, and there are people who estimate it at far lower. So it depends on which source you refer to, but the fact remains that the post-harvest losses are large, and particularly in the area of perishable, these post-harvest losses are quite large. Why are post-harvest losses large? Because there are the farmers are not able to invest into the post-harvest activities. And why are they not able to invest? Because they don't see much value in terms of their being able to reduce the post-harvest losses, and their marketable surplus is small, and they decide what crop or what vegetable or vegetable they will plant based on the current price information. So you see, in the year after the year of shortage, when the prices shoot sky high, go through the roof, you see there is a glut of onion in the market, because the mechanisms that would tell the farmer as to the total requirement and the consumptive capacity of the market, and it will provide appropriate market intelligence to the farmer, is simply not available, and the trust of the farmers in those agencies is quite low. So these are the issues which tell us as to what we need to do. And I'm quite happy to tell you that the National Rural Livelihood Mission program is working well in multiple areas. The area of increasing the capacity and the knowledge of the farmers, particularly the women farmers in different areas of fruit and vegetable and other agriculture products, and providing extension services, collectivizing them, forming them into producer groups, in certain cases providing higher level collectives. So these are some of the areas in which we are working, and we are quite happy to note that the government in the recent years have come out with a flurry of reforms which kind of complete the entire set of reforms that they could do. So, for example, the private markets have been allowed through the recent amendments, through the recent legislation on the private setting up of private markets. The perishable goods were excluded from the APMC Act. GST kind of allows the national level market, so you don't have to stop at the state boundaries to for paying your sales tax or VAT, and therefore you can transport your good to a nationwide market without much of a difficulty. You have the ENAM, Electronic National Agriculture Market. Contract farming law has been formulated. Warehouse receipt financing has been allowed. Alternative market development, etc., have been allowed. Agriculture infrastructure fund, animal infrastructure, husbandry infrastructure funds have come up. So I think, and then financing of our own program to do so has been happening on a very large scale. Although our needs are very large, and we are not satisfied with the support that the government is making for our program. However, we have to recognize that government has given a huge amount of money to this sector, and today we are standing with more than 7 crore of women aggregated into about 65 lakh SHGs. Not a mean number, not a mean number. It's how do we take a leap from the current level to the level in which the farmers share into the value in the value chain increases. That's the key issue. What people like us bring, cooperatives, etc., bring is the value of aggregation. So we aggregate the farmers. We provide the technical capacities, we develop their skills, we develop the institutions that kind of articulate the farmers' thought, and then they articulate, they organize them for increasing their bargaining capacity. However, we know that our linkage does not get completed with this. So we have to kind of partner with agencies who on the basis of technology, who on the basis of their devotion to the cause of farmer through their social enterprise spirit, are equally interested in the benefits that they are able to provide to the farmers by increasing their value, by increasing their disposable income. So take, for example, Amul. What did Amul do? Amul aggregated the producers into cooperatives and then federations, and thereby increase, and then also introduced a supply chain for supply of services and goods and inputs for the servicing the cows and servicing the farmers, providing feeds and other inputs to the farmer, and then work the way up the market chain, and then diversified into various levels of processing for disposal of the milk that is being produced. So we need several champions like this. Yesterday only I wrote an article which was published in the Financial Express, which was about the fact that the government has recently brought out its scheme for formation of about 10,000 FPOs, but we need many more like that. I mean, if you ask me, the country needs at least about 1 lakh such FPOs, and therefore the need for aggregation, the need for interface between the farmer collectives and that being provided by market-facing channels. They may be agri-tech players, they may be aggregators, they may be processor, is a huge thing. But this must happen on the basis of mutuality, non-exploitation, adding value. So through this partnership, the benefit of farmers should be one of the key players. In fact, why do we think the farmer is so much against, I mean, at least the group of farmers who are hesitating on Delhi borders and in many parts of the country, we don't have a position, and we have the position that is of the government, and I am quite in sync with that position. We believe that farmers have been misled, but in their minds, this fear lurks that the private trade that is going to come to deal with them is going to be exploitative. That's going to take them into a situation where the farmers would become kind of subordinate, slaves, dispossessed. So we have to, the market players that come should assure that the partnership is a partnership in true sense. It's a win-win partnership, and it takes at the same time all these groups prosper, the farmers also prosper. So that's the kind of partnership that should happen. There is certainly a need for large-scale processing, and so that we could not only feed our own people the more healthy food, we could meet the year-round requirement. We could also do exports and feed other parts of the world. So our farmers are capable of doing that, though the agriculture resources that they have is declining over the period. However, if you see the productivity gap, there is a large productivity gap that is there. If you see the adoption of technology, there is a large gap in the intensity of technology adoption. If you see the water productivity, that is quite low as compared to many other countries which have much poorer level of water resources. So all these considerations tell us that we need to partner with each other on a non-exploitative basis, on the basis of mutuality of considerations. The NRLM and the rest of the government machinery and programs are working with the farmers, and they are kind of propping these groups up so that they are able to do this bargaining and do this negotiation on a basis of equal partnership. And we invite all the players who are associated with you and who are enlightened and who believe in the value of partnership in the sense of and are willing to work with a sense of partnership to work with us. And let me tell you that through the 7 crore women, we are able to produce a variety of produce. They are in the area of livestock, they are in the area of herbs, they are in the area of fruits and vegetables, crops which are exotic, crops which are quite specific to geographies, which are nutritious. So all sorts and varieties of produce, and which if our agriculture companies, agri-tech startups, aggregators, if they are willing to partner, I think it would not only add to the farmer, but it would also add to the their own turnover and their own enterprise. And I think this win-win partnership can take the country and the farmers, and particularly small and the marginal farmer that we represent, to a much better level. This is the need of the hour, and through your forum, I invite all of you to work in this grand challenge. Thank you very much for providing me with this opportunity for introducing the subject.
Thank you, Mr. Sinha. That was really very enlightening. And we have a couple of more minutes. So maybe, I had a number of questions, but you actually answered all of them. So thank you very much for that. But I'll still ask one question and one comment which I would make, because you made a very important point that around the world, people have used different methods, maybe a century ago or in the West. We have our own issues. So why we should not be copying the models of the West of large scale and all, but finding means of using technology to be able to deliver good doubling of the income, as the Prime Minister has said, over the next 2-3 years. And I think that's really possible. But one of the points which you brought about a couple of times is about women. So if you could just, this one question is, how do we use technology and empower women? Because I do believe that that will fundamentally change the rural landscape. Would you mind giving a short comment on this? Because the role of women is so important.
See, one of the principal dimensions along which we want to use technology, and our programs are using technology, is the way and the manner in which we reduce the drudgery of the farmers, and particularly women farmers. So we kind of do have the custom hiring centers which have tools and equipments which bring down the drudgery of the women farmers. So that's a critical area. The second area in which technology is being employed is, and we will be talking when our relations all get deepened further, is the issue of utilizing our resources more sustainably and efficiently. For example, water. Water is a very kind of a resource which we need to use very conservatively and very sparingly and very sustainably. I mean, you see the issue that is happening in Punjab and parts of Punjab and parts of Haryana. People have drawn water out of the groundwater out of the earth, and every year the water table keeps on going down and down, and because of this the cost of farming is going up, and whether they would be able to do it sustainably over a long period of time, it's doubtful. So I think this issue, we need to use technology to bring down the use of these scarce resources. Third area is the utilization of waste that gets generated in the farming households and the rural areas. In the urban areas, we think we can utilize waste, but by having a dumping site and then disposing everything to that dumping site. In the rural areas, the habitations are quite compact. You can't always imagine that you will find a dumping site and keep on dumping. And also the fact that most of the agriculture waste that gets generated, if utilized properly, can increase the biomass. So we need to utilize technologies to improve the sustainability of the entire agriculture enterprise, and it makes them climate resilient, because the way climate is changing, the sustainability of the farming itself is in doubt. We were quite happy to note that government of Andhra Pradesh and obviously supported by Ministry of Agriculture is taking up a project called Zero Budget Natural Farming, And then it also introduced the concept of pre-monsoon dry sowing. And about a week and a half ago, I was privy to the presentation that was made. And I was quite happy to note that despite this intense flood in the Andhra Pradesh about a month ago, which kind of decimated the crops everywhere, the crops that were grown using these technologies were able to survive to the extent of 85% compared to one which didn't use these techniques. So their survival was only about 25%. So the climate, we need to adapt our technologies in order to make them climate smart kind of technology. And then obviously there are gaps in the area of education, health, and skills. So there also the use of technology helps us. The extension work gets improved through the use of technology. So I think with the use of technologies, we should be in a position to improve the situation of our women to a great extent. And in fact, out of these considerations, only our ministry is quite big votary of the idea of smart villages, using technologies to improve the lot of villages and focusing on the women.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sinha. We are now out of time. Thank you very much for setting the stage for the discussion today, which I'm sure will have taken note of all your suggestions, especially the one around women. After these deliberations, we at the Nudge Forum will certainly come back to you with a set of findings and actions that can hasten the pace of rural livelihoods in India using relevant technology and using relevant and appropriate technology. Thank you very much and have a great session today. Over to you, Priya.
Thank you, Mr. Seth, and thank you, Priya.
Thank you, Mr. Sinha. Thank you, Mr. Seth. It was a great session to understand and learn more from you. And you've set the pace for us to move into the next segment on understanding the rural households, which has interesting panelists talking about who the farmer is, who is the rural household,